Part 1. The evening sunlight filtered through massive windows, painting the Harlow mansion in soft gold. I studied the dinner table, a picture of perfection, every fork lined up, crystal goblets winking under a chandelier's glow. Vanessa, my wife, glided around the dining room, pausing to squeeze an aunt's shoulder or flash a practiced smile. Thanksgiving here wasn't about turkey or gratitude. It was the Harlow's annual showcase, more about who you knew than what you'd done. 7 years into this family, I was still the outsider. My resume, Ohio small-town grit, scholarships, late nights building my own consulting business, meant nothing among these old-money pedigrees. Here, worth came from legacy, not hustle. The familiar tap of heels announced Beatrice Harlow, my mother-in-law, swirling a glass of red wine. Devon, be a dear and help Thomas with the chairs? We're too short. I nodded, setting my drink aside, and found Thomas waiting by the hallway. Vanessa's brother was 33, but carried himself like he'd never been told no. He smirked, adjusting cufflinks that cost more than my first car. How's the building, Doodles? Devon, he tossed out. I grabbed 2 folding chairs, letting his words roll off. Architectural consulting isn't doodling, Thomas. Things are good. We just locked down the West Haven project. He picked at his perfect nails, unimpressed. Dad says that job will flop. Guess you missed the latest forecasts. I shrugged, but my phone buzzed, a message from Liam, my business partner. We got it. Henderson Group lost. Drinks tomorrow? For a second, I grinned. Beating Preston Henderson, Vanessa's ex and her parents' golden boy, meant more than any contract. When I returned, the air felt charged. Every face seemed to turn, some grinning, some avoiding my eyes. Vanessa stood at the head, mid-toast, wine sloshing slightly. Honestly, with all these dating apps, people find happiness 99% of the time. Devon's that 1% fail. She pointed at me, laughter bouncing off the china. I stopped, folding chairs in hand, my cheeks burning. She wasn't done. Sweetheart, she sang, voice sugar-coated. I was just telling everyone how we met, the marriage mishap. Her dad, Frederick, coughed into his napkin. Let's serve the turkey. But Beatrice cut in. Vanessa, darling, you could always upgrade. Preston finalized his divorce and asked about you at the club. The room roared with laughter. I set the chairs down quietly. All those years, every offhand jab, every reminder I didn't belong, suddenly Preston. Vanessa caught my eye. It's just a joke, Devon. But something inside me cracked. No words. I walked upstairs, packed my suitcase in silence, slipped off my wedding ring, and left it glinting on the dresser. As I closed the door, Vanessa's voice drifted up, calling, then dismissing me. He's sensitive. He'll come back. Not this time. 3 weeks later, I sat across from my lawyer in Boston, a city I'd picked to be as far as possible from Connecticut's reach. You're sure about this? Martin Wolf asked, brows raised. Total disappearance? New identity? That's extreme. I slid a folder his way. If I just divorce Vanessa, her family will destroy me. Frederick threatened to ruin my career unless I handed over the business. Martin frowned, scanning papers. West Haven could have set you up for life. They'll take that too, I said. I know their game. They won't stop until I'm wrecked. After signing, I walked to my hotel. My phone kept buzzing, Vanessa, Liam, old clients. I let it ring. That night, standing over a dark river, I tossed my phone in and watched it disappear beneath the water. By February, I was Davis Morgan. New Social Security, driver's license, blank slate. My degree wouldn't transfer, but my knowledge did. I took a draftsman gig at a tiny firm in Portland, Oregon. Russell Bergen, the boss, gave me a curious look after a month. You're too sharp for this job. What are you running from? Just wanted a fresh start, I told him. You just got promoted, junior architect. If you want it. My new home? A studio above a bookstore, rain on the glass every night. Small, but I finally slept. On the toughest nights, I'd think back to how Vanessa looked at me when we first met, genuine, excited by a nobody's big dreams. That faded quick after marriage, as her family's weight shifted between us. I realized I was never her partner, just another project. 6 months vanished. Then I saw my own face in an online missing persons report. The story painted me as unstable, lost, maybe dangerous. The Harlows had rewritten my life, and Preston, now billed as old family friend, gave a polished quote about his deep concern. I closed the laptop and returned to my desk. Let them worry. I was finally free to build something for myself. Part 2. A hush settled over the office. Vanessa's voice shook as she leaned in, her eyes shining. It's urgent, Devon. Our son, he's very sick. I didn't flinch. Your son with Preston? That's not my responsibility. Liam moved forward, his tone pleading. That's the point, Devon. Alexander is your biological son. For the first time, my composure slipped. What are you talking about? Vanessa collapsed into a chair, her energy spent. The night you left, I found out I was pregnant 6 weeks along. I tried to track you down, but you disappeared. When Preston and I married, he agreed to raise Alexander as his own. No one ever questioned the timing. Thomas broke the silence, hands stuffed deep in his pockets. Now the kid's got acute myeloid leukemia. We all got tested, none of us matched. So you want my bone marrow, I said, flat as stone. Vanessa's tears came faster. We're begging you. He's 6 years old, Devon. He's fighting, but... Enough. I stepped away, staring out at the drizzly Portland skyline. You show up after 7 years and expect me to swallow this? The timing is too neat. Liam set a thick file on my desk. It's all here, the test results, his diagnosis. Alexander's running out of time. I thumbed through the paperwork. It all looked real, but the Harlows excelled at creating illusions. I glanced at Liam. Why bring him? The guy who let my business collapse. He winced. After you vanished, Frederick threatened my family. Every contract dried up. They cut our credit, froze our accounts. I sold the firm for next to nothing just to survive. And now you're working for Henderson Architecture, I said, ice in my voice. I had to feed my family, he answered, eyes low. I faced the group. Let's get this straight. I don't believe any of you. If this boy is mine and he's truly sick, I'll need outside verification. I want my own doctors, my own DNA tests, full access to his records. If, and only if, everything checks out, I'll think about it. Vanessa barely let me finish. We'll give you whatever you want. Just meet him. Please. There's not much time. I'm not setting foot anywhere with you, I replied. This happens my way, period. Independent testing, no exceptions. And no contact with me except through my channels. Preston stepped in, jaw clenched. Listen, Mercer, this isn't up for debate. That boy needs you. If I what? My voice went low, dangerous. I disappeared once. I can do it again, and this time, even your algorithms won't find me. That quieted the room. You'll hand over DNA for paternity, I continued, give my doctors total access, and keep to my rules. Do that, and maybe I'll help for Alexander, not for any of you. Thomas's voice sounded thin. And if we agree, then I'll help the child, not the family. Vanessa wiped her face, pulling herself together. Whatever you need, Devon. Just hurry. I buzzed the intercom. Allison, please show my guests out. Vanessa hesitated at the door. I'm sorry for everything that night. At Thanksgiving, I never meant. I cut her off. Goodbye, Vanessa. Once the office was empty, I sat in the silence, heart pounding. All my walls, the ones built over years, were cracking. If this was a trap, the Harlows had thought of everything. But what if it wasn't? I grabbed my phone and called Martin. I need you in Portland. Bring Dr. Sanjay. It's urgent. Chapter 5, Blood Ties. 3 days later, I sat in a quiet hospital suite with Dr. Eliza Sanjay, a trusted specialist who owed Martin Wolf more than one favor. The paternity test is clear, Dr. Sanjay said, highlighting the result. 99.9% chance Alexander is your son. And his condition? She frowned. Acute myeloid leukemia, aggressive. Chemo hasn't worked. He needs a bone marrow transplant, and you're a strong match. Not perfect, but as good as it gets for a parent. Martin, silent in the corner, spoke up. They're telling the truth, Devon. The boy is yours, and he's running out of time. I paced the small room, mind spinning. 7 years of hiding, erased by one child I never knew. What if this is just the start? I muttered. What if I donate, save the kid, and they use him to reel me back in? Martin nodded. That's a real risk. The Harlows always have backup plans. I want to see him. Alone. Dr. Sanjay nodded. He's at Connecticut Children's in Hartford. I'll arrange privileges and get you in as a consulting doctor. 2 days later, dressed in a white coat with a fake badge, I stood outside a hospital room in Hartford. Through the glass, I spotted a small boy, dark hair, skin pale, absorbed in a handheld video game, wires snaking from his arms. He's having a good day, Dr. Sanjay whispered. He's a fighter. Does he know about me? They told him a donor was found. Nothing more. I braced myself and walked in. The boy looked up, sharp-eyed. You another doctor? In a way. I'm Davis. He grinned. I'm Alex. Here to poke me with more needles? I'm kind of busy winning right now. Despite myself, I laughed. No needles today. Just wanted to meet you. He studied me, head cocked. Are you the guy giving me bone marrow? Maybe, I answered, feeling off balance. He frowned, examining my face. You look like the man in the photo Mom keeps in her dresser. She only looks at it when she thinks no one sees. My chest tightened. Does she? He nodded. Yeah. She gets sad when she thinks I'm not watching. Are you that guy? It's complicated. Adults say that when they don't want to answer. Either you are or you aren't. Before I could reply, Vanessa appeared in the doorway, shock freezing her features. Devon, what are you? I needed to see him for myself, I said, rising. Alex stared at us both. So, you're my real dad? I hesitated, but nodded. He asked, matter of fact, are you going to save me? Yes. Thanks, he replied, going right back to his game. Outside, Vanessa cornered me. You had no right. I had every right, I shot back. He's my son. You hid that for 7 years. I tried to find you, you vanished. If Alexander hadn't gotten sick, would you have told him? She went quiet. I'll donate. Here, under Dr. Sanjay's supervision. After that, we talk custody. You can't just take him. Courts. I cut her off, voice cold. I learned from your family. I plan ahead. The operation's tomorrow. We'll talk after. Back in my hotel, I dialed Martin. Get everything on Preston, Frederick, Beatrice, Thomas, and connect me with Connecticut's best custody lawyers. This changes everything. Martin's voice was soft. Your plan was to disappear again. Plans change, I replied. I'm not running from my son. Part 3. The steady beep of hospital machines blended with the drizzle outside as Liam's confession landed. We built the water systems, the geothermal features, all those innovations Preston's been claiming. He stole everything. I watched him carefully. Why tell me this now? Liam's hand shook as he pushed a flash drive across the table. Because I'm tired of living scared. This drive has it all, emails, design theft, bribes. Not just us. Henderson's stolen from half the city. I picked it up, weighing the risk. And what do you want me to do with it? Whatever you want. I can't keep looking my kids in the eye if I stay quiet. You realize this implicates you, too? He nodded. I've made my peace. As Liam left, he hesitated. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have fought harder for you. When he was gone, I plugged in the drive. The evidence was a roadmap for bringing down Henderson and the Harlows, backroom deals, copied blueprints, city bribes. But something nagged me. How could Liam, even as a senior architect, get his hands on this much? I called Martin. Background on Liam, who's he met this week? The answer came that night. Liam had met Frederick Harlow and Preston Henderson right before giving me the drive. It's bait, I muttered. The data was real, but opening it meant leaving digital tracks, setting me up for corporate theft. The old Devon might have fallen for it. Not now. Each day, Alexander grew stronger. He'd show up with childish blueprints, messy, but sharp. Mom hates when I draw buildings, he whispered. Says it reminds her of stuff she wants to forget. Do you like designing? He nodded, eyes bright. Solving puzzles. Preston says it's a waste, but why do stuff you hate? I smiled. That's a good question. On day 5, Vanessa came alone, dark circles under her eyes. His numbers look better, she said, standing awkward at the foot of my bed. Doctors are hopeful. Good, I said, setting aside my tablet. What else? She hesitated. Then Saturday, I'm sorry. For Thanksgiving. For all of it. My tone stayed flat. Why now? I've had 7 years to think. I loved you, Devon, but my family wore me down. Preston, he was always their choice. When you disappeared, it was convenient for everyone. Except Alexander. You let him believe another man was his dad. I thought you were gone for good. I studied her, remembering why I'd loved her, and why I'd left. What do you want? She took a breath. A second chance. Once, I'd have said yes. Now, I shook my head. There's no us. Just Alexander. He needs a real family. He had one until things got hard. Preston can't love a child that isn't his. Your family cares about bloodlines, not people. Her eyes flashed. You don't get it. I do. You're here now because Preston's pulling away, your family's worried, and suddenly the biological father matters. She stood, stung. You're cold. No, just clear. When Alexander's stable, we'll talk. Until then, I have nothing else to say. After she left, I called Martin. I want Preston's last year. Affairs, secrets, anything odd. The Harlows never do anything without a plan. Looking for leverage? looking for their angle. That night, I got a text. Not everyone in the family supported what happened. Some want to make it right. Meet tomorrow, 8 p.m., Hospital Chapel. Come alone. The timing was perfect, too perfect. I replied, I'll be there. While they thought I was distracted, I was setting my own traps. Even if Liam's drive was bait, it could still be turned against them if I played it right. Chapter 7, Allies and Enemies. The hospital chapel was dim and empty when I arrived at 7:55. I picked a seat with a clear view of the doors. At exactly 8, the door creaked open and Beatrice Harlow, my former mother-in-law, stepped in, poised as ever. She sat across the aisle, silver hair perfect, voice steady. Thank you for coming. I didn't move. What do you want, Beatrice? You've changed. The man who married Vanessa would never have spoken to me like this. 7 years will do that. She opened her handbag and placed a slim folder between us. You need to see this. I eyed it, wary. Why help me? Because Frederick has crossed the line. He's using Alexander as leverage. There are boundaries, even for us. Your husband never found a boundary he couldn't cross. Her jaw tightened. Maybe. But I do, especially for family. Frederick sees Alexander as an asset. Preston sees him as a problem. Vanessa only sees her own value. No one's thinking about the child except you and me. I opened the folder. Inside were custody forms, guardianship transfers, medical proxies, all designed to put Frederick in control of Alexander's care and inheritance. He's setting up Alexander to be a research subject, I said, sickened. Frederick wants to use my son's genetics for profit. Beatrice's voice dropped. He's been meeting with biotech investors. It's all dressed up as charity, but he stands to gain millions. Why now? I asked quietly. She glanced away. I've watched Frederick break our own children for the sake of legacy. I can't let him do it to my grandson. She stood to leave. Use that as you see fit. I'll deny everything. Alone again, I studied the files. Frederick's plans were worse than I thought. The next morning, I found Alexander coloring a house covered in solar panels. The doctors say your bone marrow's working, he said. Proud. That's great. How do you feel? Better. He shoved the drawing my way. Grandpa calls green buildings tree hugger stuff, but I checked. Your buildings are all green. You're kind of famous, you know. That got a laugh out of me. You looked me up? Of course. I'm 6, not stupid. He looked up, searching my face. Why'd you go away? I answered honestly. Because your family made me feel like I'd never belong. He nodded. Grandpa does that to everyone. Even Mom. Before I could answer, Preston barged in. What are you doing here? Visiting my son. Problem? You gave bone marrow. That doesn't make you his father. Actually, it does. I raised him. You vanished. Because I never knew he existed. Preston's jaw tightened. Vanessa tried. I cut him off. Was marrying her your idea, or Frederick's? He flinched. I stepped forward, voice low. Frederick's not going to decide Alexander's future. I won't let it happen. Part 4. Preston's glare hardened. You're out of your depth, Mercer. For the first time in 7 years, I'm exactly where I should be. I shot back. Give Frederick a message. The game's changed. Passing Beatrice in the hallway, I caught a brief nod as she helped Alexander with a building kit. For once, we understood each other. That afternoon, I met Martin and Dr. Sanjay in my hotel. Martin confirmed what I'd guessed. Liam's flash drive was a trap. If I'd acted on the files, they'd have grounds for charges, even a restraining order to block me from Alexander. Fortunately, we're smarter than that, I said. What about Preston? Martin's eyes were cold. He's been draining joint accounts, moving funds offshore. He's setting up to leave Vanessa. Dr. Sanjay added, Frederick's biotech deals are built on experimental protocols, using terminal patients for research. Stock prices rise because of his connections. I stared out the window. So Frederick gets his data, Preston escapes with his money, and Vanessa's left with a sick child. Martin nodded. That's about it. Then it's time we take them down. But we protect Alexander and Vanessa, I said. Martin looked surprised, but I was clear. She's Alexander's mother. She's made mistakes, but she's not their enemy. The plan took shape. Dr. Sanjay, file for emergency medical oversight. Martin, alert the SEC on Frederick and Jean Core. And for Preston, call Nina Reeves. While they all thought I was distracted, I was tearing down their empire, brick by brick. A few days later, I visited Alexander in his hospital room. Want to see my office in Portland? I asked. His eyes went wide. Really? If your mom agrees. You both can come. He searched my face. Are you trying to take me from her? No, son. I want you to have a choice, a life beyond Frederick's plans. He looked down. I don't like Grandpa Frederick's plans. He talks about me like a science project. Genome, regeneration, he thinks I don't understand, but I do. I smiled, pride and worry mixing. You get that from your mom, too. She's strong, just different. He asked softly, will you help her? She cries when I'm asleep. I nodded. I will, Alexander. I promise. That night, Vanessa arrived at my hotel, nervous. We need to talk about what happens next, I said. It's about protecting Alexander from Frederick and from Preston. She looked lost as I handed her the files Beatrice had given me, plus what Martin found. Her face went pale as she read. This can't be real. It is, I said. Frederick wants Alexander for research. Preston's ready to run with his money. Tears fell. What do I do? You have a choice. Break free, divorce Preston before he finishes his scheme. My team will protect your settlement. We'll split time with Alexander. She looked up, voice shaking. What do you get out of this? My son, and the satisfaction of watching Frederick's plans fall apart. After a long pause, she nodded. Alexander comes first. Whatever it takes. I offered my hand. Partners. She took it, resolve flickering in her eyes. Chapter 8. The Architect's Revenge. A week later, I stood in Alexander's hospital room as he packed to leave. Which home? He asked. Your mother's, for now. I'll be in Hartford. Will you come to Thanksgiving? Before I could answer, Vanessa entered. Actually, just the three of us at a restaurant this year. Alexander's smile was pure joy. No Grandpa Frederick? Not this year, Vanessa said, exchanging a look with me. Vanessa had already filed for divorce, using my evidence to protect herself and Alexander. Frederick tried to freeze her accounts, but Martin had blocked him. Leaving the hospital, my phone buzzed. Martin, Operation Eclipse initiating T-minus 60 minutes. Everything okay? Vanessa asked. I smiled. Perfect timing. Alexander, how about ice cream? He grinned. Before lunch. Special day. I winked. At the ice cream shop, the news broke. SEC raids Gincor, Harlow Investments under investigation. Vanessa stared at my phone in shock. It's happening. This is just the beginning, I said quietly. What'll happen to them? Financial ruin. Criminal charges. Before she could answer, my phone rang. Frederick. Should I answer? I asked. Vanessa nodded, and I put him on speaker. You'll regret this, Devon, Frederick spat. Your empire is over, I replied. Vanessa spoke, her voice steady. It's over, Dad. Alexander deserves better. You ungrateful. No, Dad. I'm done. I ended the call. As Alexander returned, happy and bright, my phone buzzed again, Martin reporting Preston under arrest, Frederick cornered. The empire was falling. For the first time, my family was free. Part 5. Devon stayed calm as he helped Alexander get settled at Vanessa's apartment, showing him how to use his new building set and making plans for visits to Portland. That night, after Alexander was asleep, Vanessa sat down across from him in the quiet living room. You've been planning this for 7 years, haven't you? She asked. Not like this, Devon admitted. At first, it was all about revenge, tearing down everyone who hurt me that night. What changed? He glanced toward Alexander's room. Revenge isn't simple when there's an innocent involved. Vanessa watched him, softer. You're different. Colder. Years without being told I wasn't good enough will do that. She looked down. I'm sorry. For Thanksgiving. For letting them ruin what we had. He nodded. I believe you. But it doesn't change things for us. Vanessa's phone rang. It was Beatrice. She listened, then hung up. Thomas is having a breakdown. Preston tried to blame him for permit fraud. He'll recover, Devon said. Your mother protected you. That's why she gave me those documents. Surprise flickered in Vanessa's eyes, but she nodded. Devon stood. Tomorrow, lawyers want to discuss custody. Joint? Equal time. Vanessa walked him to the door. Thank you for saving Alexander. For not taking him from me completely. If I'd done that, I'd be like Frederick, using a child as a weapon. As he turned to go, she asked quietly, will you ever forgive me? He paused, considering. No. Some betrayals cut too deep. But for Alexander's sake, we'll build something new, maybe trust, at least respect. 3 months later, Devon stood with Alexander atop Portland's tallest tower, pointing out the city's landmarks. See that cultural center by the river? I designed it. Your buildings look even cooler in real life, Alexander said, face pressed to the glass. This was Alexander's first Portland visit, a week each month, holidays split. The transition was surprisingly smooth. In the elevator, Alexander beamed. The roof garden at your place is my favorite. Can we plant vegetables next time? Absolutely. We'll design it together. Much had changed. The Harlow Empire had collapsed. Frederick facing prison, Preston losing everything, Thomas in rehab. Beatrice had slipped away mostly untouched, while Vanessa found her footing again, working at a small museum, finally building a life on her own terms. At dinner, Alexander handed Devon an architectural model he built. 3 houses, bridges connecting them. This one's yours, that one's Mom's, and mine's in the middle. The bridges are so I can go back and forth. Devon was moved. This is brilliant. You have real talent. Mom keeps all my designs, Alexander said proudly. Later, Devon called Vanessa with an update. The conversation was easy, just 2 parents, co-architects of a new life for their son. Standing on the balcony after, Devon looked out at the city. 7 years ago, he'd left Connecticut fueled by anger. Now, he had a son, a future, and something to build beyond revenge. The final news from Martin came. The last Henderson assets were his. Everything Preston and Frederick had stolen was now returned. But the wind felt different than he'd once imagined. It wasn't about destruction anymore. It was about building. Alexander, asleep down the hall, was living proof. Devon made a quiet promise. The bitterness that had haunted the Harlow name would end with him. Alexander would grow up knowing how to build bridges, not burn them. And in that, maybe, there was redemption for them all. The end.